Okay, hello, Mr. Smaltz here with some more notes for you. Now, look at the screen. 2.2, that's Chapter 2, Section 2, page 87. So have your books open to page 87. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 problems to go over with you. Starting with number 1. Again, books open. Make sure you copy these down. If I write it down, you're required to write it down. Number 1, k over 4 equals 8. In other words, what number divided by 4 gives you an answer of 8? What number divided by 4 gives you an answer of 8? Now, some of you, I would hope, can do that in your head. But let's do it algebraically. So I'm going to ask the question, divide by 4. What's the opposite of dividing by 4? Or how do we undo divide by 4? And that answer is times 4. So I want to times each side by 4. Because remember, what you do to one side, you must do the same thing to the other side. And this over here is really 4 over 1. And we can cross cancel these 4's. So I only have my k left over. Because the 1 really doesn't count. And my answer would be this 8 times 4, or 32. 32 is my answer. I want to skip to number 3. Negative 2 is w divided by negative 7. In other words, negative 2 is what number divided by negative 7? Well, I'm going to put the w over negative 7 first, then equals 2. So you ask yourself, how do I get rid or undo a negative 7, divide by negative 7? And the answer is you multiply by negative 7. So I have to times by negative 7 over here. Then, of course, you can cross cancel those because technically that's over 1. And I only have the w left over. And then multiply. Negative 2 times negative 7. Remember, two negatives make a positive there. Positive 14. W would equal 14. That's your answer. Jump to number 7. This one, 4x equals 28. In other words, 4 times, there's technically a time sign in the middle there. 4 times x, or 4 times what number, is 28. Well, I'm multiplying by 4. Now, what's the opposite of times by 4? Or how do you undo a times by 4? And that answer is you divide. You divide by 4. So I have to divide the other side by 4 as well. And you should know that 4 divided by 4 is 1. Or in other words, I can mark them out. I'll put that as a note. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 doesn't count as my answer, so I'm only left with that x, which I'll just bring down and write like that. It's my final step, 28 divided by 4. Now 28 over 4, that's the same thing as written like that. 28 divided by 4, you should know, is 7. 7 is your answer. X equals 7. Number 8. Let's do number 8 together. Negative 64 equals 8c. I'm going to put my 8c first. Then my negative 64. What's being times by 8? There's a time sign right there. So you should know by now you want to divide both sides by 8. Because 8 and 8 make 1, we can mark them out. I have C. And then divide over here. Negative 64 divided by 8. A lot of students will write an answer of 8. 8 is not your answer. Don't forget that negative sign. Make it clear so I can see it when I grade your papers. -8. That was number 8. I want to do number 11 with you. Number 11. 4m equals 10. 4m is 10, so 4 times what number gives you an answer of 10? Well, you should know to divide by 10. That way your 4's can be marked out. That equals 1. And m would be 10/4, but really I can't leave that as a unreduced fraction. That would reduce to 5/2, which is an acceptable answer. With a calculator, 2.5 would also be an acceptable answer. So I circled both of them just to show you that either answer would be fine. Just don't leave the answer 10/4. Never leave a fraction that's not reduced. The next problem, 3 more to go. Number 14, please. 15 equals 5/6 times, I'm going to put the time sign in there in red, times f. I'm going to reverse this. I'm going to put 5/6 f equals 15. I like to have my variables over on the left. Well, it's 5/6 times. How do you get rid of a 5/6? So think reciprocal. Remember taking the reciprocal of fractions? That's when you turn it upside down. So the reciprocal would be 6/5. Put the 6 on top and the 5 on bottom. I'm going to write that right here. 6/5. And we multiply that. So I got to multiply this side by 6/5 as well. Because what happens is you can mark out these 6's over here, cross cancel, and you can mark out the 5's. So everything is gone except the f. Now on the other side, 15 times 6/5, remember this little trick? You can put it over 1. And you can cross cancel the 15 and the 5. 5 is gone, 15 becomes a 3. So your answer is this 3 and this 6. Multiply those together to get 18. That's your answer. F equals 18. We'll practice more of those in class. 2 more. Number 17. Excuse me. 1/10 is 4/5 times y. Time sign there. I'm going to, of course, put my 4/5 y first. My 1/10 is kind of reverse the equation. I would do just like I did on 15, multiply by the reciprocal, which would be 5/4. So I also have to multiply this by 5/4. That allows me to mark out my 5's, because that's cross canceling, and mark out my 4's. I'm just left with y equals. Then multiply on the other side. I can cross cancel on over here my 10 and my 5. See, my 5 and my 10 would be a 1 there and a 2 there. And then multiply. Numerators, 1 and 1 on top. That's 1 times 1 is 1. Then on the bottom you have a 2 and a 4. Multiply those, 1/8. There's your answer. Y equals 1/8. Again, we'll practice more fractions in class together. Last problem. Turn your book about 3 pages over to number 88. Number 88 is kind of like a word problem. It's really just a 2-part problem. It says if 2p equals 4, find 6p plus 10. Solve the equation first. I want to solve this equation first. I'm going to rewrite it. 2p equals 4. You would solve that by dividing by 2. That way your 2's are gone. And p is, divide here, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I just solved the equation, p equals 2, but I'm not done because I have to find 6p plus 10. So if I rewrite 6p plus 10, I'm going to plug in this 2 answer right there in place of that p. Substitution. 6 times 2 plus 10, that's 12. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 10, answer 22. You must first solve the equation, then plug it in, which means substitution. My answer is the 22. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you in class.